house and doing their laundry.
We're doing free laundry today.
Thank you so much. That really helps out.
That could really make the difference in their lives.
Good job.
What she doesn't know, I'm going to take her story and I'm going to turn it into a great country song. I'm Lee Bryce, and Ashley Ruiz is the inspiration for my American anthem.
Friday evening at 9.
Italy would be heaven if it weren't so full of petty bureaucrats. What is he doing here?
He might prove useful.
You really are serious.
I'm always serious when it comes to making money.
I was hoping that Rose might wish to accompany me for a little painting lesson.
You realize this nonsense will have to stop sooner or later, don't you?
Father's so hell-bent on getting Rose and me hitched.
All that matters is whether you could be happy together.
Tonight at 7.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
Welcome to the Hotel Portofino.
How do you find Italy?
You mean, how does Italy find me? What's the plan?
If the threat's genuine, keep him alive.
Get him out of there. We need your help. All we want is the truth, and we will get to it.
These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport on the PBS app. Download it today.
Agatha Christie is the best-selling novelist of all time.
And she was the world-famous icon, the playwright. Then there is the woman.
We'll delve deeper into the genius of Agatha Christie than ever before.
There's an awful lot more beneath the surface.
She saw blood, gore, death, and she wasn't afraid to use it.
Her brain teemed with ideas.
This is the untold story of what made Agatha Christie a brilliant mind.
Tonight at 10.
Hello? What happened?
I'm investigating the murder of my friend.
I think I might be able to help. My name is Agatha Christie. I'm a writer.
And you're an expert in these sorts of things.
You'd be surprised. The tablet, what is it?
The Curse of Ishtar.
What you're suggesting is dangerous.
Heaven forbid. Strychnine. Poison.
I must say, Agatha, things are a lot more interesting since your arrival.
You are a good detective.
Agatha and the Curse of Ishtar. Stream now with PBS Passport on the PBS Video app.
Programming on Montana PBS is made possible in part by viewers like you. And by the Montana Nursery and Landscape Association, a trade association of horticulture professionals who can assist with yard, gardening, and outdoor space questions. Members in your area can be found at plantingmontana.com. And by the Montana Farmers Union, a grassroots organization working for family farmers, ranchers, and rural communities. Online at montanafarmersunion.com. Montana Ag Live is made possible by the Montana Department of Agriculture, the MSU Extension Service, the MSU Ag Experiment Stations of the College of Agriculture, the Montana Wheat and Barley Committee, Cashman Nursery and Landscaping, the Northern Pulse Growers Association, and the Gallatin Gardeners Club.
Good evening and welcome to Montana Ag Live, brought to you from the PBS studio at Montana State University. So I would really like to thank you all for tuning in tonight. It's such a beautiful night, so I definitely appreciate if you're watching. I would also like to thank Jack Rieselman for putting a great slate of shows together this year, or this particular season. He focused on women in agriculture, and he brought in a number of guests, women that are actually performing a lot of very, very different roles in agriculture. And we've got a special guest today that I think is going to really put the icing on the cake for that. So my name is Nina Zydak, and I serve as Director of Seed Potato Certification at Montana State University. On my left is Tim Seipel, who is a weed scientist and ecologist, here to answer any of your weed questions. Lori Korzenik our insect diagnostician. I don't think she actually has anything too threatening today. We have Tracy Dewar, who has been with us at MSU for a long time as a professor in horticulture, and she now serves as the academic director for the College of Agriculture. So it's really going to be great to hear from her and the academic programs that are going on at Montana State University. And on the end, we have Perry Miller, who is a cropping system specialist here at MSU. So please come to him with any questions that you might have on cover crops, rotations, that type of thing. We are lucky enough to have Nikki and Joe Vradenberg answering phones with us tonight. So thank you. And to you in the audience, please get those phones ringing and get some good questions coming into us. So Tracy, could you tell us a little bit about academic programs at Montana State University and your role in guiding that mission?
So our office kind of oversees, we think about the student as a whole in the College of Agriculture, and recruitment and retention of students. So how do we get students to come to our College of Agriculture, and then also how we help them stay and persist at the university. And so we're starting off this summer with orientations and meeting those students. And we host programs throughout the year that engage our students and help them out. And in doing that, I also get to work with the faculty of MSU and the College of Ag to help them prepare and facilitate their classroom experience with the students, as well as the programs that we involve our students in. So.
Great, well thank you, and we look forward to hearing a lot more about those programs as the show progresses tonight. So Tim, a question from Florence. This person used weed and feed on their lawn and it did not kill their dandelions. Do you have any idea why it might not have worked?
Yeah, when you use weed and feed on your lawn, it kills just the broadleaf plants, but it really kills only the small broadleaf plants and annuals. So if you have a big dandelion that's already established in your yard and you dig it up and it has a big taproot, those are not usually affected by the weed and feed herbicide. There's just not enough to really kill those big dandelions.
So,
yeah, can I recommend an alternative strategy? So I do something I call yard yoga. And I go out with a little hand tool and I look for those big dandelion rosettes and I dig them out, and that does seem to take pretty much, if you get a good chunk of the root system, that takes pretty good care of them.
I also do yard yoga. I have a big Klein screwdriver and I reach in and I pop them out.
That's a great way to get your exercise, because there's never a shortage of dandelions. So Lori, a question from Hardin. They found these long, skinny white worms on their garden plants, and they move really fast. They haven't seen these before. What could they be?
Well, I think this year we've had, this could be horsehair worms. We've had a lot of, this year has been a big year for them, and they are parasites of grasshoppers and crickets, and they're much longer and skinnier than an earthworm. And we also have something called pinworms, but these horsehair worms are about 4 inches long, and they look like they're about the width of a hair. So completely harmless. They're probably around because we had such a high grasshopper year last year, and they mate and lay eggs in the water, but when they mature, they come out for a little bit and they run around like crazy in the plants. So nothing to worry about, just something curious.
So I think I've actually seen these before. Do you actually see them in troughs of water?
Yeah.
And then you see the skinny little worms. I've never actually seen them outside of the water.
Yeah, so they look kind of freaky when they're on plants, but it's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Didn't know about that. That's great. So Tracy, Jack put this entire season together focused on women in agriculture. Can you talk a little bit about the young women that are pursuing degrees and careers in agriculture at MSU?
Yeah, so our College of Agriculture is now about 60% female and 40% male. And so our programs are working to get young ladies into agriculture in a lot of our majors. And so we find them across the majors. And so that's actually raised an interesting question about what's happening with our male students and at the universities and why they're not persisting in our agricultural programs. So,
yeah, is there the possibility that maybe some of the young men from farms and ranches might be pursuing degrees in other areas that they're going to take back to the farm? Or, I don't know. I just kind of wonder about that. Yeah.
I think, well, in the national picture, we see them staying out of college, so they're not going to college. And so, so part of our recruitment is to go out and talk to all of our students across the state of Montana and talk to them about coming to college and what an agricultural degree can bring them. So.
Yeah, and I think now that the Precision Ag program is starting up, and I'm sure coursework is going to follow with that. That we'll see even more opportunities for both young men and women.
Yes.
So.
Can I just add a little bit to this? So I've been teaching a crop science course for a long time at MSU, and the caliber of student has gotten a lot better. And sorry to our students that I taught 10 or 20 years ago, but we are really getting some strong students in that major. Is that related to any retention or recruitment strategy, or?
I think it has everything to do with our recruitment that we've been doing at MSU, and
thanks for calling. Well, good job.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is our number one tool for recruitment?
It's all of our faculty that are out there across the state recruiting our students. They're out there working with the farmers and ranchers across the state, and that's what attracts our students, is to see, they come here and then they know somebody when they're here, and I think that's been our number one recruiting tool. And our programs are out in the state, so when at state FFA convention, our faculty are there at the convention, or when they come for John Deere Ag Expo, those students are here.
Right, and judging
so
for the competitions.
Yeah, so we know our communities around Montana.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So Perry, from Lewistown, what is the best cover crop to build organic matter in a dryland situation?
So organic matter construction is just, it's a pretty simple game. The more biomass that you can put in that soil, the more you'll improve soil carbon. And that could involve cover crops. That can just involve annual cropping systems that do a good job of producing lots of biomass. To say, we've done a lot of work on cover crops. Nitrogen fixing crops do what you'd expect them to do. They fix nitrogen, they bring that into the system, and so depending on how that interacts with carbon, that can raise organic matter. We think of our fibrous rooted species as feeding that carbon aspect more readily because of the higher carbon ratio in those grassy plants, but after we've looked at our results and analyzed it, biomass is biomass. It doesn't seem to matter what, where it comes from. More is better when you're trying to build organic matter. The trick in dryland situations is sometimes we use too much water in doing that, especially if it's a cover crop that doesn't bring any income back to the farm. So that can be a whole other challenge as to whether it will actually work economically, but it's really a simple equation. More biomass equals more soil organic matter.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things that's really fun about this panel and doing Montana Ag Live is that when we come in, our purpose is to answer questions that come in from the audience, but we always come in with questions for each other. And so I'm actually going to let Perry, I'm going to pass it back off to you, and I would like you to ask Tim one of the questions that you brought in for Tim today.
Sir, yeah, I don't know if we can get a close-up on this, and even it's probably not.
It's diminutive.
Yeah, it's very small, but it's not one of my prouder moments. But I have quite an infestation of this particular weed, and it's sizable, the size of the studio. That has spread on my grass the last 3 years, and I was just asking Tim what it was all about because I haven't actually seen it before, and he's going to tell you.
Yeah, so it's an annual weed. It's a Veronica. The common name is also, I think, common name in English is Speedwell. Veronica arvensis, so Veronica of the field, and it's a little very early season annual plant. And Perry was actually asking about managing it, and I said, well, Perry, it's a little bit too late, because if you look down this annual plant, you'll see these heart-shaped lobes on them, and the seed is actually fairly ripe and already set. So if you went in and you applied a herbicide to it that took a relatively long time to kill the plant, the seed would likely ripen and fall onto the ground, and you'd be at the same spot you were last year.
Okay, so I just have to be quicker next year.
You'll have to be earlier to the game.
Okay.
Yep.
So is this one of these weeds that actually maybe if you were to fertilize your grass, it might be a little bit more competitive and you would have a little bit less of something like this? I mean, it doesn't look like a real beast in terms of aggressiveness.
Yeah, it's I have a little bit of it around my house too, and it mixes in with the bulbous bluegrass, the Poa bulbosa, and it's a really early season plant, and I don't have a great grass stand there, but it does like to establish early when there's a lot of disturbance there. So I think if you did build a good grass stand, you could probably out-compete it over time.
I find if I fertilize my grass, I just have to mow it.
Exactly.
And if you water it, it gets even worse, right?
Exactly. You know, when I was younger, I worked at a golf course, and the superintendent made the really bad mistake once of putting way too much nitrogen on the fairways. And to prevent the fairways from burning up, he had to water it a lot, which led to me mowing fairways every day. I'm as good as a GPS tractor. Straight, I can drive a straight line, but we mowed fairways for every day for a month, and I'm with you, Perry. If you fertilize it, if you water it, it grows.
Absolutely.
And then you have to mow it.
And there's better things to do on beautiful evenings like that, or like tonight, than mowing. So, okay, now, Tim, I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask Lori the question that you brought in.
Okay, so I have some early season planted Swiss chard, and we've harvested some of it, but it started to get these white sacks that sort of fill up, and they're hollow on the inside. And if you peel them apart and you open them up, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it now, but there's these little worms that are on the inside. I don't know if we'll be able to find them, but they're lost, and they basically eat the whole lettuce or the whole chard leaf off. So how do we deal with it, and how do I manage these little worms?
Well, this is either the beet leaf miner or the spinach leaf miner. They're two closely related species, and it is a fly as an immature, so the little white things that you're seeing in there are maggots, and then a lot of the black things that you're seeing in there are insect poop. So they have little feces in there. And at this point, the best thing you could do is just pick the leaves off that are infested. It's something that you could hit early on with maybe some floating row covers to try to prevent them from laying eggs early in the season, but at this point, it's really hard to try to control them. Cut down on any sort of nitrogen fertilizer that you're going to use. That'll keep that population down. But at this point, yeah, it's just picking off the leaves.
Yeah, I have a really bad population of these leaf miners, and I noticed that the only time I get good chard is after the first frosts of the year, when they seem to go away a little bit. So I think I'm gonna just remove all the biomass though, and see if we get better chard later in the year.
Yep. All right. So here's a question that came in from Bozeman, and we do not have an animal specialist on, or an animal control specialist. So I'm just going to throw that out there because maybe somebody has some advice for this person. They've been having gopher troubles in their garden. They've tried traps, sage, and Tabasco sauce, but the gophers are still sneaking in and stealing her squash. What else can she try? She says it's kind of like Caddyshack. So,
Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Yeah, what's legal? Yeah.
What's legal? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe protecting individual plants with some wire or something. Or
you know who knows is Stephen Van Tassel from the Montana Department of Agriculture.
There you go.
He knows all the tricks and can help you.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Exactly. We can always pass the buck, but I think it's a great question. So Tracy, a question from Helena. What is the most rapidly growing major at MSU?
Right now, that's our environmental sciences programs. So there's a strong interest from our youth in our environment and And with climate change coming, it's encouraging to see students going into that major. And that our environmental sciences major includes environmental biology, soil and water, and the geospatial program, as well as land rehabilitation. And so that program's been growing very rapidly.
Well, that's interesting. So just, I mean, to give us a ballpark idea, how many people would be in those programs?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question. Is it like 50, 60, something?
They've got over 100 and some students in that program, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
That's
great.
a sizable program, yeah.
You know, there's an introductory lecture I give each year, and where I show the salaries of different majors. And environmental sciences has not been one of the higher paying salaries. If you can be in crop science, agronomy, one of the crop management kinds of disciplines, this is coming back from a multi-university study from some years ago, but it was a pretty sizable increase. So applaud students that are interested in environmental sciences, but if you want to make some money, some of the traditional ag areas still, we need people.
I think, yeah, we need people in every sector of agriculture right now. So, yep, like everywhere else. Perry from Moccasin, this person remembers that you talked about winter canola when you were on the show last year. And how is winter canola performing in Montana?
So it's actually pretty exciting, I would say. There are a number of things that are changing. I call winter canola a fragile system, and by that I mean if just sort of one thing goes wrong in in all the steps to grow the crop, that you may not get a crop. But the genetics are getting better. We're figuring out some of the management better. So there are some farmers having some good success, and I had a farmer call me from the combine last year during a really strong drought that was combining a high-yielding dryland canola field near Dutton, Montana, and I'm like, wow, you know, if you can do it last year, you can probably do it in a lot of cases. So we actually just put out a little MSU blurb on experiences we've had with winter canola, because it's getting close to the time to be thinking about planting it. I think the safest or least risky option is to plant it in a chem fallow situation. So normally we'd be thinking about September or maybe even October for our winter wheat. Canola, we got to move that way forward to get it big enough to be hardy enough to survive the winter. And so ideally, probably the heat units would work out in August sometime. But do we get, canola's a tiny little seed, we're not going to plant it very deep. Do we get it wet enough in August to get it emerged? Last year we did. And so there's some lovely stands of winter canola around the state this year, because we had that inch of rain in August that was pretty widespread.
Yeah, I can imagine that that's a really tough decision to make. So what's canola worth these days?
I'm gonna be a little bit ignorant, because I'm familiar with some Canadian prices, and I know that was $20 a bushel Canadian and up, and actually some spot prices that were higher than that. It's worth a fortune actually at the moment. If you can grow a crop of canola, you're going to be a pretty happy farmer.
When you're coming out of coming out of chem fallow, how do you typically manage weeds going into winter canola and thinking about this? I have some plots that I'm ready to plant.
But I'm thinking about conventional chem fallow, wheat stubble of some sort. Well, one of the things we found with trying to grow winter canola as a sort of a post-harvest or a fall planted crop, we just don't get enough heat units to get it big enough to let it survive the winter. And the very worst place where we get the least heat is a good wheat stubble field, right? Because it's too dense, too cool, too shaded. So we really don't get very good establishment there. But in the chem fallow, some of that stubble has started to break down, and so you get a better microclimate in there. Some farmers have actually seeded as early as late June. Some of the first farmers that had success with this, but then you get so much biomass that you have to manage it. And so in that case, they had some swathing operations going, trying to keep the canola from getting too large, because if it starts to bolt, if it starts to make that reproductive stem, or even starts to lift the crowns off the soil surface very far, it becomes very susceptible to winter injury or mortality. That probably didn't answer your question, but I'm looking at it as sort of normal chem fallow, and we actually seeded ours in July last year. We did have a growth issue. We had it was trying to, the crowns were lifting, and so we probably lost 90% of our stand. If you were to look at my plots right now, you'd say, oh, they look pretty good, but those are big wolf plants that have really branched out and made a lot of pods. But so July we weren't able to manage that growth when we seeded that early. I wished I'd have waited till August, but I didn't know it was going to rain.
And where were your plots?
At the post farm.
At the post farm.
Yeah,
okay.
Here in Gallatin Valley. Yeah.
Great. So
sorry, what's your ideas, Tim?
Mike, for weed management, are most of the new genetics that are promising in the Roundup Ready lines of canola that are not susceptible to the herbicide glyphosate, so that you can use Roundup in crop?
Yeah, good point. So I have there are non-herbicide tolerant lines that actually tend to have a little bit. Some of them have better winter hardiness. So they're trying to get that winter hardiness moved into these herbicide tolerant types. But I only work with Roundup Ready types, and part of that was because we were getting such thin stands. I needed a way of managing weeds that was pretty simple. We could still get some surprising yields if we can control those weeds, and glyphosate's a pretty easy tool that way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So a call came in from Kalispell. They would like to know, Tim, what is a good herbicide for yarrow, and can you effectively spray and control it with a fall application?
That's a really good question. I do not know what the best way to control yarrow is. I would imagine it would probably be a 2,4-D MCPA, maybe bromoxynil, husky sort of combination in there. And if you sprayed it this time of year, I think you could definitely suppress it, but I don't think you will control it in just one herbicide application, because it has underground roots and rhizomes, and it's really tolerant to being defoliated, and it will actually increase. If they wanted to call me in my office on Monday or Tuesday, I'd be happy to look into it a little bit more. I have a few ideas out there for products, but it may come down to availability too. I've heard some dicamba 2,4-D is really hard to get a hold of in some situations now.
Okay, great, thanks. So we are getting some help from an outside call from Pablo. So this caller has a solution to the gopher problem mentioned earlier. She puts mothballs in the gopher holes and then puts a lid on them. She has not had a gopher problem in years. So,
wow.
So
simple solution.
Yeah, sounds like a fairly simple solution. I don't know, is it naphthalene?
Yep, naphthalene.
Yeah, naphthalene.
It is toxic.
Yeah, it is pretty toxic. I don't know if there might be any issue like having that in with your vegetables or something like that. But again, that would be a great question to ask Stephen Van Tassel. Yeah, absolutely. Great. So, Lori, let's see. I know I saw a question that came in here. I think I have to go up just a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, this caller from Bozeman has a healthy elm tree, except there are leaves that are clumped together. She's noticed that there's some kind of organism in the clumps, looks like an aphid. Maybe she's wondering if that's something that she should be concerned about. Is that bringing anything to mind for you?
Yeah, it's probably a woolly elm aphid. They also create, there's a woolly elm aphid and a woolly apple aphid. Sometimes a woolly apple aphid will use elm as a secondary host, so it could be either one of those two. And it creates kind of a cottony mass inside the leaf and will curl the leaf. It looks kind of alarming, but if it's an established elm tree, I would just let it go. You'll have a lot of natural enemies and beneficials that come in, and just keep an eye on your tree. So if it's something really young, you can call me in my office and we could figure out a good plan and something to apply, which would probably have to be a systemic that goes through the root system. But if it's an established tree, I wouldn't be overly concerned. Elm trees do have a lot of pests too, and as long as it's not causing any issues with the health of the tree, they can take a lot of insect pest issues.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times with established trees, just making sure that they have sufficient water through the growing season is probably the best defense.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if they get drought stressed, then they become a little bit more susceptible. to everything. So.
I think one thing people complain about sometimes with aphids too is that they release honeydew, and sometimes if that's on a sidewalk or near your car, then that might attract sooty mold or might drip honeydew too. So that's one thing to consider.
Sure, thank you. So this is a question that I'm going to throw out to kind of both Lori and Tracy. I think it's intended for Tracy, but there's a chance that maybe Lori has a little bit more experience with this. They're asking, like, what is the ratio of men to women in extension offices throughout the state?
Whew,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
That is a good question. I mean, I think as far as I think for the extension offices, I think there's a higher female to male ratio for the extension agents that are in the offices right now, and I could be wrong. But Tim, do you know? Or
I don't know all the stats off the top of my head, but Mary Burrows was talking about this recently, and when she started in somewhere around 2005 or so in that general area, and if I'm wrong, call Mary and ask her, that it was a majority male extension agents in the Ag Natural Resources program, and now it is, now we've seen a shift to almost a majority female ag extension agents just within the ag extension program. So yeah, it's and there's some great smart agents out there. Shelley Mills was on here just a couple of weeks ago.
What a good question for Shelley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, that's great. So Tracy from Sydney, what are the new courses that are being offered in the College of Ag? Where are we breaking new ground?
We're breaking new ground. You mentioned it earlier, actually, the Precision Ag program. We're starting to turn the wheels on that one, and so this fall and then in the spring, we'll be offering 4 new classes in Precision Ag, starting with the general concepts in Precision Ag, and then also a sensors class this fall. And then in the spring, we're looking at a data science and kind of the business end of talking about, is it economically feasible to do Precision Ag, and then also a course on the Internet of Things.
Oh.
So the wheels are starting to turn on, and that all kicked off this summer with the Precision Ag boot camp that happened earlier this summer. So
that sounds great. So can you also talk a little bit, like a lot of the students that come to our lab just on field trips and things are in the Sustainable Foods program. Can you talk a little bit about that and how we work with some of the different programs throughout the university for the Sustainable Foods program?
Yeah, so the Sustainable Foods and Bioenergy Systems program is across through 2 colleges? 3 colleges. Three colleges. And so, and a couple of our departments have branches of those, so agroecology program and the crop science.
Sustainable crop production.
Sustainable crop production. So, and then there's also the food science aspect of that as well. And so that program started across all those colleges, but we think about it, it's another way of agriculture, and so that's definitely what we want to teach in the college.
Food is agriculture, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. So Perry, you talked about this a little bit, but I think it would be great to elaborate any more, just since even though in some parts of the state we feel like we're maybe coming out of the drought, but I know in the Triangle there are areas that are still in some pretty severe drought situations. Do cover crops make sense on dryland farms? And also, like, how do you balance the decisions in dryland farms compared to in irrigated agriculture?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of cover crop research, none in irrigated systems. It's all been in rain-fed systems one way or another, both on farm and long-term plot studies. We ran an 8-year study with one site at Amsterdam and one site at Conrad, and had a couple sites that ran half that long. So we've looked at this from a lot of different ways. Cover crops use water. There's this myth out there that somehow cover crops create water. A plant has to use water to grow. And so depending on how they cover the ground, they can probably do some things that reduce evaporation, but still the transpiration, the water use that happens with that plant, it uses water. And so on average, we're, in our plot studies, we're finding that when we measure it compared to chem fallow, we've got about 2 inches, maybe a little bit more than, how would I say that? There's 2 inches or a little bit more than 2 inches greater water in chem fallow than there is in those cover crops. So 2 inches that's a lot of water. That's, you know, that could be 10 bushels a wheat. So that's, there can be some significant yield loss if you're in an area that doesn't replenish that soil well over winter with precipitation. I think our average yield loss in this crop trial that I'm talking about was somewhere in the 8 to 10 bushels an acre range. And in the on-farm programs where they were left to manage cover crops as they saw fit and tended to let them grow longer than we did, so they used more water, used more nitrogen, their yield loss was just about double what ours was in the small plot. So it was even worse in the on-farm case. So, but we weren't creating any value with our cover crops. Like, we weren't using them for forages. And so there's a group out of Harvard that's just published some papers where they didn't have as big a water problems, which I'm a little puzzled about at Harvard, because that's a pretty dry area.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was some real positive aspects on the forage side. So there were some nitrate issues, nitrate toxicity issues in the forage, I guess, that you have to be aware of. But their assessment, I think, was a little more positive than what ours has been. If I had to pick a number in the state, I would say if you're in an area that gets, on average, 14 inches, you know, thereabouts, or annual precip or better, cover crops are probably going to work for you. Yeah. If you're much under that 14 inches annual precip, it just doesn't. We haven't found sites where it works. I mean, it's just, and we thought, well, if we do this long enough, you know, keep cycling it, we'll build up that soil organic matter, make it hold water better. We'll do some positive things, and that hasn't even happened as fast as we had hoped. So. It's economically, it's pretty challenging, unless there's a forage angle that really works for you. Yeah.
And that actually, well, we did some of the research in Harvard, part of it with the Dared Boss, really set up years ago, and then with Pat Carr at Moccasin. I think the forage aspect can be the most valuable portion of that. And I think Pat Carr's research and yours has really sort of pointed to that. And we just also found great way to manage wild oats. You have a really bad field with wild oats in it, you put in a winter triticale, an Austrian winter pea, barley spring pea, and you cut that off now as those wild oats start to bolt. You get some value in really being able to stop that wild oat seed set for that year. So there is some trade-offs in there too.
Sure, but can you have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah.
We want to build soil organic matter. It takes biomass to do that. If you're taking biomass out of the system, I'll guarantee you're slowing down the soil organic matter development.
So in situations where you are a certified organic producer, would the value of the crop be high enough to compensate for the potential loss in yield?
Yeah, so I mean, organic's a whole other game, right? Because they're nitrogen limited, and so they need to have nitrogen infused into that system, and the best way to do that is with a legume cover crop. And so, yeah, it does make money. It does make sense in organic systems. I guess I was speaking more from our. We're working in conventional no-till systems, and there it's been really challenging to try and make sense of it. And yet, I know farmers that are they're still pretty keen on it, but when we put put the pencil to it, it just doesn't seem to even come close to paying. But
yeah, and I know, like in potatoes, a lot of our growers are using cover crops, and they're finding, they'll use it as a tool to prepare a really, really nice soil bed before they plant their most valuable crops, which is what we call the nuclear and generation one, the plants that are just coming out of our lab or just coming out of the greenhouses, mini tubers, and they want a really, really nice soil bed. And occasionally some of them are actually either having a neighbor come in and graze those the fall before too. So, it's definitely something that I'm seeing show up more in potatoes for sure. So Tim, let's see. I saw a question on red sorrel.
Ooh. And
they're wondering just what is, or how do you control red sorrel in pasture?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about controlling red sorrel. It's also called sheep sorrel quite often. It's a really rhizomatous plant. So the roots are all interconnected. You see the red patches out right now. I just saw them yesterday. And they can end up in your pastures fairly commonly. I think if you have a mix of grass and legumes in your hay pasture, I think that's a harder situation to manage. If you're trying to manage red sorrel or sheep sorrel in a just grass stand, you can really do it with the broadleaf herbicide, and there's a fair number of choices out there that would give you that to do it. If you're trying to keep the grass, keep the legumes, and get rid of the red sorrel or the sheep sorrel, that's a little bit harder thing to manage. I would say maybe 2,4-D, because maybe the legumes won't be so super sensitive. That might do it, but I'm not sure how the sheep sorrel will respond to it.
Okay, thank you. So, Lori, this color from Roundup has some weird cluster-like growths on the branches of their cottonwood trees. Some are brown and some are green. Do you have any idea what they might be?
Well, I did bring a sample with me today that this could be the from the poplar bud gall mite. I've had a lot of calls about that. So this is these are old galls, and then the new galls are green. They look like they do look like they're part of the bud, but anything in the populus genus can get these. So poplars, cottonwoods, and aspens, and typically this is a cosmetic injury, but we've been seeing quite a bit, which means you don't have to do anything for treatment, especially for established trees. But we are seeing quite a bit more of this mite, and what happens when you have a lot of infestation from the mite is you see a lot of dieback. So if it's just a little bit and you have an established tree, just let it go. But I think something we're going to have to keep an eye on in the next few years, because I think the populations are getting just a little bit worse. So it's really hard to treat. The time to treat, if you are going to treat, is when it's just right before bud break, and so putting some sort of miticide or some sort of horticultural oil on there will help before the mites start to make their galls. So it's a difficult one to treat and one to kind of leave alone, but I have to be careful about what I say about these cosmetic pests and the ones that aren't causing damage, because it seems like they're taken off the last few years, and they're especially things like oak. All of our domestic or our deciduous trees definitely are having a lot more cosmetic damage.
So I see you have another sample there. I was wondering if you wanted to show that one too, and what kind of damage this particular pest might be causing.
Hopefully it doesn't get me. But this is a southwestern tent caterpillar. I was just up in Drinking Horse today, and it was feeding on chokecherry. So this is the chokecherry plant, and it was actually causing quite a bit of defoliation. So usually they hatch in April and May, and they're typically done by mid-May, but they're a little bit late this year, and they will create big tents in the middle of the chokecherry. And it's something that you can physically remove if you put some gloves on. They tend to congregate there during the day, so you can go and remove the tent with a pair of gloves. And especially they really can do quite a bit of defoliation. So if you see the tent in there, you can go and remove that with your gloves. But otherwise, if it's a really established plant, they're not doing much defoliation, then you can just let it be. But they're out and munching around.
So that's in the rose family, so related to apples, related to cherries, related to a lot of our fruit trees. Can these tent caterpillars then move on to affect our apples, our cherries, our plums, things like that? Or
I've had them in my cherries before.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know how many hosts this is a prunus species, so I don't know which ones they actually migrate to. So, but I think you see them a lot in chokecherry, and I don't know how common they are in some of the other hosts as well. Ooh, and it's climbing up.
That's great.
I've seen these types of worms infect apple orchards in Morocco, and I've never seen them really move from our chokecherries onto other things.
Yeah, I don't see them as much moving on very much, but I don't know if those are potential hosts if they don't have their key species.
So in the northern prairies, there's something called tent caterpillars that will do these massive defoliation events for aspen. Is this the same critter, or is that something different?
Different species, a little bit later. Yeah. So this is an early defoliator. So we have probably about 4 different tent caterpillar species that are common here in Montana, but this is one that we see kind of in the forested areas, and it comes out early.
You said to wear gloves. Why?
Wear gloves because their hairs are pretty irritating, so they could be kind of irritate your skin a little bit. So that's why you'd wear gloves.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So Tracy, we have a caller from Hysham, and they have a student that is looking forward to coming to MSU this next fall. What scholarships are available to students in the College of Agriculture?
So the College of Agriculture at MSU has some very generous donors to, and so the college has the largest scholarship pool. So there's a lot of varied scholarships available to our students. And every year we ask the students to apply to the CAT scholarships program, and that's on, it's online. That'll open up probably about in October, November, that application, and then that's due by February 1st the next year. And that's a whole plethora of scholarships that can be very specific to some areas of Montana, as well as very broad. And so there's a lot available to the students. Just that one application puts you in for all those different scholarships, for covering all of our majors in the college too.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Is that a recruitment level scholarship? Like, is that something they do at a high school, or do they have to be here first?
Some of them, we encourage the incoming freshmen to apply because some of them are recruiting scholarships. Right now we have very few of those, but we're working towards more of those, and but all levels of students should apply.
Okay, great.
Okay. So Perry, we're going to kind of take a lot of our conversations back to the beginning, because we have a call from Bozeman, and I think this is a really good point to us in academia sometimes to go back to the beginning. What is chem fallow?
Oh, yes. You know, it's funny that comes up, because I often get tripped up. I said I give an introductory lecture each year, and I throw out chem fallow like it's a term that everybody understands, and even sometimes with my crop science, there's some of the students in my crop science classes. So fallow is just, the way we say it, summer fallow is just a practice of leaving a field bare, managing weeds through the whole, or managing it to be weed-free throughout the whole season, and chem fallow just means I'm using a chemical to do that. So rather than tilling it to keep the weeds out, I'm using a general herbicide like glyphosate to keep it free of plant growth, to prevent them from using water. There is kind of a myth out there that fallow does some positive things for soil, and it does not. Fallow is actually one of the most harmful things we do to our soils. So, and if you till it, it's even worse. But it is important for moisture conservation. If you're in an area of the state where you need that extra couple of inches of water to make the difference between growing an economical crop or not, it's nearly required.
So one of the things that I've heard something about, but I haven't really gotten up to date on the cause of it and what is going on, but I've heard some anecdotal stories about significant pH changes and problems that have developed over time in chem fallow situations. Can you describe that a little bit, and what the best way is to remedy that?
So I can't, but I can tell you that we have a lot of people here at MSU who are very concerned about, we've got some soil scientists who are very concerned about this pH issue. Manbir Rakar is a new faculty member who's targeting research in this area. Clayne Jones has been looking at this. Rick Engel had quite an emphasis on this at the end of his career, and it is alarming what the degree of acidification we're seeing in a number of situations. And fallow does seem to have a role. We don't know. Obviously, it's caused by nitrogen, right? So,
right.
And not necessarily by mineralized nitrogen, but by applied nitrogen. But if you apply nitrogen in a timing to try to build up soil nitrogen when there's no plants there to use it, the net result of that can be a pretty big, a pretty significant movement towards lower pH. And we're discovering a lot of that on our own research farms, actually, because when we're getting ready to grow winter wheat, sometimes we'll throw a bunch of nitrogen out there to get it ready, or even to grow spring crops the next year. We'll put a lot of nitrogen out there to get it ready for planting the next year. And those are the fields that are showing up with astonishingly reduced pH, which is really not a good thing.
So historically, this is not something that we've seen in traditional fallow where cultivation has been used for weed control?
So our soil soils in Montana tended to have significant lime content, so calcium carbonate, and so that increases pH. And so And some of that lime layer exists a little deeper in the soil, so if you actually tilled and brought that up, you probably actually at times had soil that was too high a pH. But the practice of applying nitrogen fertilizer over time does cause a chemical reaction, especially if the plant doesn't use that fertilizer. It's worse where you get a drought and the fertilizer isn't used, or there's some timing mismatch where the plant doesn't use that nitrogen in a timely way. That's where it appears like the chemical reactions are occurring the worst. But if you want to know more, Clayne Jones, boy, he's a soil chemist. He knows this stuff inside and out, and Mambir Ricard is doing some new research on this topic too. So.
Great. And I would anticipate that some of this information might possibly be at the field days this year at the various egg experiment stations. So just, if you go on our College of Ag website, you can find information on where these field days are, when they're going to be happening, and you can actually hear it right from the horse's mouth from the people that are doing this very important research at MSU.
Yeah, July 7th at the Post-Farm Field Day on Huffine and Bozeman, Clayne Jones and Mambir will both be presenting on some of their...
On that issue. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's good to know. So, Tim, this is a question from Miles City. These folks have weeds in their gravel driveway, and they've sprayed them with both Roundup and 2,4-D, and nothing has killed them. Is there a better solution to kill weeds in a gravel driveway?
There's a whole class of herbicides that are called soil sterilants, and people use them around gravel buildings and different situations, and you can certainly use those, and those will do a better job. We've sort of cycled through product names and trade names. They always have a desert, Mojave, Sahara, things like that are a couple examples. You can find that at the regular hardware store, and you can spray it and it'll give you a residual. But be careful, even with 2,4-D and glyphosate, about getting too far off of your driveway and spraying your trees next to the driveway, or if you use a herbicide that's a little bit more powerful and has a longer residual, making sure you don't get runoff that affects those trees around your driveway or your lawn at the same time. You have to watch out for that. I would imagine that the glyphosate 2,4-D didn't work. Perhaps the weeds were covered in dust, so you didn't get much uptake in a gravel driveway. I sprayed some glyphosate couple of weeks ago, and I think it was much too cold and nothing happened for quite a while. So there could be a lot of reasons that the application didn't work, but generally the sterilants are what people use.
Okay, great advice. So, Lori from Three Forks, this caller has a pine tree with a white scale, and they've been spraying something. It doesn't say specifically what, but it isn't working. What can they do to control scale?
So that's probably pine needle scale, which is pretty common. It's especially common in dusty areas. So I don't know if the caller lives off a dusty road or if this is in a shelter belt situation. Timing is very important to control the pine needle scale. So if you're using a contact spray, they're only active during this stage called the crawler stage. So, and we're past that because usually that's right around lilac bloom. I guess we're still kind of in lilac bloom. It's usually when the crawlers are out. But I think at this point there's an active ingredient called dinotefuran, which one of the common names or one of the common brand names is Safari, which can be pretty expensive. That's one systemic that goes through the root system that you can use that will work on pine needle scale. But it could just be a timing issue. So if you don't get those crawlers in the right stage, then they're protected underneath that hard shell, and it's hard to control them. A few isn't that big of a deal, but if it looks like, bird spacklings or some bird poop all over, and it's that heavy, then that could really cause some dieback on the tree.
Yeah, and especially if they're drought stressed again too. It seems like that's a bad interaction. Yeah. So Tracy, a question from Ronan. Can you talk a little bit about the opportunities for Indigenous students at MSU?
Sure. We've started up a program called Indigenous Pathways in Agriculture, and this program was born out of a grant that we have from the USDA called, it's a New Beginnings grant. That's focused on recruitment and retention of Native students into just to go to college. And so we partnered up with Blackfeet Community College for this grant. Mostly we want to encourage Indigenous students to go to college, but we started Indigenous Pathways in Agriculture to start going from our end out into the state and learning about their agriculture and what those communities need, those tribal communities need for their agriculture, and how we can support those students when they do come to college to make them more comfortable in our community. Bozeman's a big town, and so
exactly. I came from a small town, so I can sympathize. It's a bit of a culture shock.
Yep. Yeah. And beyond that, it is the culture is different in the way that they operate into, and so getting them comfortable when they come here. So it's a place they know. The person that runs that program, Ricky Olinger, is running is our Native Student Program Manager. And so throughout the year, she provides activities and programs. We also try to connect them with resources on campus as well. But it's also provided us with an opportunity to train our faculty to go out and immerse themselves in these cultures and learn more about what their needs are across the state and how to help that student when they come to campus as well.
So if somebody was to come to campus and drive down the east side of the campus, they'd see a big,
brand new
interesting
building,
new
yes.
building. Yeah. What's that all about?
That's American Indian Hall, and so that program, or that building, is a place for our students to gather, but it houses the Native American Studies program. And that has places for those students to go to feel comfortable and programs. But we also have students that are in agriculture, and so we want to have a home and a place that they touch with us in agriculture as well. So.
I haven't been in it yet, but it looks gorgeous from the outside.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's the time and consideration and thought that was put into that building is amazing. And then there's aspects of from all the tribes incorporated into that building. So the drum room is incredible.
So one of the things that I thought is cool, I've just on noontime walks walked through the building, but the part that I like the best actually is the landscaping that they've done around the outside, incorporating native plants. And also I think there's a small area where they're going to have, like some native plants that tribes traditionally have cultivated. So yeah, it's just a really cool building, and like you said, very, very thoughtful.
Yeah, so some of that garden that's going in is going to produce some of their traditional, I'll call them agricultural crops, that they're producing that seed. Right now, Jill Mackin has been working out at our horticulture farm, producing those seeds so that they can distribute them across the state, and so schools can call in and order those seeds for their programs. And Jill's got that program started. There's a welling of interest in an Indigenous food systems program, and that's starting to get off the ground.
Really?
Jill is in education, health, and human development. So.
That's great. Very interesting. So I'm going to let Perry ask the last question. We've got a minute. So if you could ask Tim about your herbicide injury on pea question, really quick.
So just coincidentally, this call came in from a farmer at Big Sandy just yesterday, and showing some injury on his peas, which is not really cool. But and I was asking Tim if what he thought that injury might be, and I think we have an image of it, perhaps. Can we bring that up? The peas with the, there we go.
Wow. Yeah, so this is a pretty common injury to our peas, and it would be, I looked at the picture and I said, oh, sulfentrazone injury on peas, and it's a fairly common herbicide injury that we see from the use of sulfentrazone, which is Spartan Charge is another common one that we use. We use it as a soil-applied herbicide in the fall, generally before peas, and then after that. So I'll hand it back to Nina. Nina, we're on the same one.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for tuning in this season, and especially tonight. We look forward to seeing you again next fall for another great season of Montana.
For more information and resources, visit montanapbs.org/aglive.
Montana Ag Live is made possible by the Montana Department of Agriculture, the MSU Extension Service, the MSU Ag Experiment Stations of the College of Agriculture, the Montana Wheat and Barley Committee, Cashman Nursery and Landscaping, the Northern Pulse Growers Association, and the Gallatin Gardeners Club.